this is not going to be about politics. This is about principles. We're going to take it upon ourselves to be part of the solution.
We are going to restore history, restore our honor, restore his idea that character is what matters.
Let us not lose this battle because we sat down.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Well, hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck Program and GBTV. A lot has happened. Today has been an enormous day for the news. So much has happened in the shooting of Trayvon Martin. I'm going to start here, April 21st. Matthew Owens saw a group of kids playing basketball out in the street. Not really all that unusual of an occurrence in his hometown of Mobile, Alabama, but it was about 8:30 at night, and it was starting to get dark. Not a good time to be playing out in the street. But it was also getting a little noisy, and he and the other residents were trying to get a little R&R before starting up their busy day tomorrow. There's been problems with kids playing in the streets for a while there. It's kind of been a tense neighborhood. Well, he went out and he told the kids, call it a day. Trying to be a good neighbor, we think, at this point. We don't know. Surely everybody can appreciate you shouldn't have kids playing basketball in the street, and hey, knock it off. Well, the kids weren't thrilled about it, but they listened and they headed home. In America, at least the one I know, that's usually where it ends. But a short time later, the kids came back. And the kids weren't really the ones leading the way. It was the parents. When he looked at the parents as they were coming down the street and he saw what was in their hands, it became clear it was not just a visit to say, hey, thanks for getting my kids off the street, or hey, jerk, what did you do talking to my kids this way? They came with paint cans, with bricks, and metal pipes, and they were pissed. There were a lot of them. There are about 20 of them in all, and all of them had something like this in their hands. Pipes, bricks, chairs, you name it. It was a mob. Now imagine you're standing in the street and you see the parents and they're dragging pipes behind them and they're moving in. He didn't know what to do because soon they were coming with the pipes. And he glanced. He's looking at all of the houses. Is there anybody around? Is there anybody that was going to come to his aid? All the front doors were shut. Maybe if he would just plead with them, maybe they were just going to scare him. Maybe if he just said, I'm sorry, because that's all he could think of. I'm sorry. But apparently, sorry just wasn't good enough. The first blow came from a paint can. One of the parents didn't think sorry was good enough and hit him on the head. That opened the floodgates. And then the rest of the mob took their bricks and took their pipes and pummeled him over and over and over again. They also used brass knuckles. I don't even know where you buy brass knuckles. He sat there in the road and thought, I am going to die. I'm going to die just a few steps from my front porch. He was now limp. The ground was filled with blood. Blood was pouring from his head. His whole body was drenched in it. And the mob decided, we've done enough. They casually just straightened themselves up and walked away. As one of them walked away, he said, now that's justice for Trayvon. Today, Owens is in critical condition. None of the assailants are in custody. None. Police are still waiting for anybody with information to come forward. And they should probably change that. They're waiting for anyone with the courage and decency to come forward. Now let me take you back a few more days. April 17th. Even though weeks had passed, Alton Hayes III was still angry about what happened to Trayvon Martin. The 18-year-old Chicago boy just couldn't stop thinking about it. Trayvon was about his age, but also was black, and now was dead. And from everything that he had seen on TV and the news, it was at the hands of a white man, and that man was still free. He wasn't even being charged. He couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't going to allow Trayvon to die in vain. It was time he acted. But he couldn't do it alone. He called a friend. He was 15 years old. They went out on the prowl. They were all amped up. They were nervous. They weren't exactly sure what they were going to do, but they knew who they were going to do it to. They spotted their mark, a 19-year-old white man walking alone. "Let's go," Alton ordered. And they approached him. They approached him from behind. And before he even saw them, they grabbed his arms and pinned them down to his side. One of them said, "Empty your pockets, white boy." Raw on emotion, Alton realized, we don't have a weapon. So he looked around. He found one. We live in Texas, and this is all we could find on the ground, but it certainly wasn't this. It was much, much bigger. It was a tree branch. He picked it up, and they knocked the victim to the ground. And then he took the tree branch and pounded him. And when that wasn't good, he took his boots, started kicking him in the head over and over and over and over until the man's resistance was gone. But they kept pounding with their fists and kicking with their boots. After all, this was for Trayvon. He told the police that without any remorse. Kicking people in the head, that was for Trayvon. It was justice. Now let me take you to Kansas City. One more. Kansas City, a 13-year-old boy walking home from school alone, just as he had done many days before, using the time alone to think about the day he had. He had figured out if he could finish his homework in time, he could go out and play ball or hang out with some friends. But today's walk home would end a little differently. He knew it. As soon as he left the playground, he started walking. He could feel somebody was following him. When he hit the front porch, two older boys who had been following him and who he had hoped all the way home would just walk by, just keep walking up the street. They were right behind him. He wasn't sure what they wanted, but he was pretty clear whatever it wasn't something any good. When they didn't turn and he turned towards his front door, he made a quick dash for the door. He reached out for the handle and he tried to open it, but they rushed him, pulling him back, slamming the door shut. Still, he had no clue as to what was happening. He was completely terrified, imagining what were they going to do? Beat him up, kick him in the head, hit him with a brick, paint can, cut him. What was it? Oh no, what they had in store for him was much, much worse. Much worse than I think anything he could have dreamt up. The two attackers, who were black, had a gas can. They had a gas can, and they poured it all over him. Just poured the gas all over the boy. Now imagine you're a kid, and you've got gasoline, and then you see somebody do this. This is the only time they spoke. As he's covered in gasoline, saying, "This is what you deserve, white boy. This is what you get. You get what you deserve, white boy." And set him on fire. He was engulfed in a large fireball. Mom found him. She said you could smell the burned skin. Much of the skin on his face was gone, eyelashes, eyebrows. He suffered damage to his eyes and his lungs, but really that's only the physical part of all of it. The boy has a 5-year-old brother. He got up next morning and said, "Mom, are they going to set me on fire today?" Now both kids and the parents have to live in fear. Because the attackers haven't ever been identified, they haven't even been caught. Nobody said anything. The family now has to relocate to a new home, a new school, for fear the attackers would again strike. This is America? What is this? Man's love for man waxes cold. I haven't heard from Al Sharpton on any of these. We haven't heard from the Black Panthers. Most importantly, I wouldn't expect to hear anything from those guys, but we haven't heard anything from the president. The president should be saying, this is not who we are. The president can reach this community unlike anybody else. He can say, this is not justice, this is madness. More importantly, have we not learned anything from the past? I've never shown you the pictures in this book, but I've talked about this book before. This is an extremely expensive book, mainly because they printed so few of them, and nobody but very few libraries want this book. This is called Without Sanctuary. It is a collection for history's sake. So honestly, I've read almost all the books that I have. I've looked through all the books I have. I've not even really looked through this book because it's pictures of lynchings. This is the cover. I want to show you this. Here's the man lynched. And here are the children. Look at this one, laughing. Lynching. This is what I want you to, not the lynchings, but the people who are watching. Look at, they're all proud to have their picture taken with the lynchings. I'll show you this one. Jeez. Look at the faces of the people below. Show you one more. I warn you, this one is extraordinarily disturbing. They are burning the body of a black man, but look at the faces. This actually was used as a postcard, and on the back it said, "We had a good barbecue today. Wish you were here." By the way, this is not just, these aren't just pictures of black men being lynched. I believe the number is about 30% of all lynchings were of whites. It's not about race. It's about hatred. What is the difference between a guy who gets mad about kids playing baseball in the street and then parents come back and almost beat him to death for justice, for something he had nothing to do with? What is the difference between that and this horror show? In the end, nothing. Nothing.